Good evening, you're just in time for Citizen Weekend Sports. I'm Bernard Ndong. Sports stakeholders waited with bated breath for the reading of the budget, eager to hear how much of the national cake will be allocated in their favor. 364 million Kenya shillings was allocated for the hosting of international sports events, including the preparations for the 2017 World Youth Athletics Championships. 25 million was allocated towards anti-doping, and 366.5 million Kenya shillings was for the Office of the Registrar of Sports. But the allocation of 1.8 billion Kenya shillings for the construction of 3 stadia elicited the most response. Citizen Sports' Waihiga Mwaura tells us more.
Now, in their election manifesto, the Jubilee government promised Kenyans 5 stadia spread across the country. That promise was made in 2013. And the year is 2015, and that promise began to look like a reality only yesterday during the budget reading. But how does the Jubilee government plan on achieving this ambitious plan?
As a start, I have allocated 1.8 billion to construct a major stadium in each of the following cities: Nairobi, Mombasa, and Eldoret. We expect the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Arts to utilize this allocation efficiently by employing modern technologies of construction to deliver on this service.
Speaking to a source privy to the deliberations, the Nairobi Stadium could be built along Ngong Road. The Mombasa venue could be in the Shanzu area, while there are 2 possible locations where the Eldoret Stadium could be constructed. A feasibility study has been carried out, and once the results become available, then construction can begin. One of the stadia is envisaged to have a sitting capacity of 40,000 people, while the other 2 will host 30,000 fans at full capacity. But the question remains, will 1.8 billion Kenya shillings be enough to construct 3 World Cup stadia? Another source within the ministry admitted that 4 billion Kenya shillings would have been a more realistic sum, especially if the plan was to build new stadiums rather than upgrade existing ones. Upgrading a stadium could take place within 1 financial year, but building a brand new stadium would take more than 2 financial years. Our efforts to contact the Sports Cabinet Secretary Hassan Wario proved futile, but to put the figures into perspective, the Lona Kiplagat Sports Academy cost at least 1.2 billion Kenya shillings, and that was for the tartan track and playing surface alone. The Nandi government is also planning to construct another stadium at the cost of 1.2 billion Kenya shillings. Sports stakeholders will have to wait with bated breath to see how the 3 stadia will be constructed, with only about 600 million Kenya shillings allocated for each stadium. Reporting for Citizen Sports, I'm Waihiga Mwaura.
Let's take a look at athletics, and 2-time 1500 meters champion Asbel Kiprop delivered a masterclass in tactical running as he dominated the 1-mile race at the Oslo Diamond League race in Norway. Kiprop was tracking the leading pack from the back, but he made his move in the final lap of the race as he passed fellow Kenyan Silas Kiplagat in the home stretch to win. In the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase, the customary Kenyan battle for supremacy in that particular race resulted in a victory for Commonwealth silver medalist Jairus Kipchoge Birech, who clocked 8 minutes 5.63 seconds ahead of the world silver medalist Conseslus Kipruto.
You won't see that anymore happening. Very much a case of specialising in the steeplechase these days, and Birech has shown why he is, I think, for most people, the world's #1 at the moment. Birech takes the title, 8 minutes.
It will be a busy weekend for the national Rugby 15s team tomorrow, with 2 Kenyan teams in action in Nairobi and Zimbabwe. At the Kenya Rugby Union grounds in Nairobi, Kenya A will face off with Uganda in the first leg of the Elgon Cup. Kenya lifted last year's cup and will be keen to retain the title, which will be played over 2 legs. The women's team will also be in action against the Uganda Cranes. As far as the other team that will be traveling to Harare, they'll be facing off against Zimbabwe in the CAR Division 1A Championship.
Get outside!
Daniel Kayoki dominated the boys 1500 meters with an impressive time of 3 minutes 53.3 seconds at the time 1A secondary school games in Nyeri County. Kayoki was followed closely by Kiungu Nzula, who finished second, while Brimin Kiprono came in third. In the women's race, Winfred Mbithe dominated from start to finish as she clocked 4 minutes 18.1 seconds. Ivin Chepkemoi settled for second. The women's 10,000 meters was dominated by Gladys Cheptepkeni. The games conclude tomorrow. On the international front, hosts Chile began their campaign at the Copa America on a winning note with a clinical 2-0 victory over Ecuador. Both goals were scored in the second half by Arturo Vidal and Eduardo Vargas. Chile will face Mexico in their next match. Here are the highlights of that victory by the hosts of the 2015 Copa America. Manchester United has completed the signing of PSV Eindhoven forward Memphis Depay on a 4-year contract. The forward spent his entire career with the Dutch side, making 124 senior appearances. He finished as the Dutch league's top scorer last season with 22 goals in 30 games as Philippe Cocu's side wrapped up their first title in 7 seasons. In the NBA Finals, it's now drawn level 2-2 after the Golden State Warriors leveled in Game 4 early today morning. The Warriors beat the Cleveland Cavaliers by 103 points to 82 as Stephen Curry and Andre Iguodala scoring 22 points each. Cavaliers' LeBron James needed stitches after he collided with a camera at one point of the match. Here are the highlights.
Now both teams have won on the road. Not back down. James has obviously had his way at times, but not here in the first half. James drives inside and shot rolls in.
In Super Rugby action, the Highlanders completely dismantled the Blues by 44 points to 7 in a one-sided affair in Auckland. The Highlanders bounced back from their humiliating defeat to the Hurricanes as they scored 7 tries. The tries were scored by John Hardy, Sean Tribby, Elliot Dixon, Patrick Osborne, Daniel Pryor, Joe Latta and Ben Smith as they each crossed the whitewash, with Lima Sopoanga kicking over 3 conversions. And also to a shocking story, as you can see on your screen there, this Australian rugby player broke his arm on live TV while arm wrestling with another player for charity on the footy show in Australia. Of course, he was battling it out against another rugby champion, Wendell Saylor. Of course, that particular incident shocked the studio audience, and so the Nine Network, which is from Australia, cut to adverts while Ross received treatment at a local hospital. Well, that report marks the end of Citizen Weekend Sports for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernard Ndong. Up next, One on One.